Good evening, everyone. Hi, how are you? How great was that episode? This is so exciting to be in a room full of Shameless fans. Like, we're a special breed, I think, don't you think? My name is Stacey Wilson Hunt. I'm an entertainment journalist based here in Hollywood, actually right up the hill. And I'd like to think I'm one of the first adopters of Shameless. Remember when you were watching it and you're like telling your friends, you guys, are you watching the show? And they weren't. And now you can tell them, you guys should have been watching the show. So I'm very happy to be here to celebrate the accomplishments of this amazing cast in season 9. And before we get started and I bring out the talent, I want to let you know to please resist the temptation to approach during the show or rush the area. We have a lot of stuff to get through, and I know it's tempting because they're all so lovable, but please stay in your seats if you would. So I just want to share a few fun anecdotes and pieces of data with you that I think are pretty compelling. First of all, Shameless is Showtime's #1 comedy. Let's give it a round of applause. It's very exciting. Season 9, of which the first episode you saw tonight, has been expanded to 14 episodes this year. The first half will air this fall, and the second, I know, the gasps of surprise. The second half will air starting January 20th, which is really exciting. And they will reach another milestone this year, which is the 100th episode, which airs September 30th. There's a lot to look forward to. So let's bring out the cast without further ado. His name is Ford in the show, and his real name is Richard Flood. Please come out, Richard. You know him as Kev, Steve Howey. Back here, Steve, back here, yeah. You need to sit up front next to Richard, thank you. And we wouldn't have Kevin without V, so please come out, Shanola and Hampton. And I don't know if I'm happy for this young talent or scared for him. He plays Liam in the show, Christian Isaiah. Oh my God, he's so cute. Perhaps the most sharply dressed individual here tonight, he plays Carl, Ethan Cutkosky. She has been through so much, including losing some major appendages. Debs, played by Kenney. And fresh from the Toronto Film Festival, where he was helping promote an amazing show called Homecoming, Jeremy Allen White, who plays Liv. And you already said hi to him earlier, the patriarch, although he does not deserve that title, William H. Macy. Thank you all for being here. What did you think of the episode? Was that the first time you'd seen it?
Yeah, it was great.
I remember last year I did an event at Paley with Bill and some other cast members, and there's this era of like, it's good. It's almost like you forget how good the show is, and then you see it, and you're like, oh God, this is a really good show that we worked on.
And it's really nice to see it on a big screen.
Yes, it's a very nice screen.
Has anybody seen every episode? Like watched every single one?
I have. I'm a huge fan.
Shanola.
Christian, you have some catching up to do.
Yeah.
So
That
before
I
we
watched for 10
This was your
years.
first one?
Yeah, it is my first.
This was your first time watching the show?
Yes.
Again, I'm a little afraid, but it's okay. I think he's getting good counseling at home. That helps. So before we get started, I wanted to ask each of you, before we talk about Shameless, what you consider your big break as an actor. And since you're sitting next to me, I'm going to ask you, Bill.
In my career?
Just anything you consider the job that sort of either allowed you to quit your day job, the job that afforded you notoriety among the people who you cared to watch your work. Obviously, I know you did a lot of theater at the beginning. What was that job for you?
Well, I met David Mamet when I was in college, and he changed my life. He taught me everything I know. Fargo, I guess, changed my life.
I've heard of that.
It's a good idea. You guys get an Oscar nomination.
And work with the Coen brothers if you can help it. How about you, Jeremy?
I mean, it was Shameless, really. You know, I'd done little work here and there in small movies and a couple, like, episodic things, commercials I did a lot of, and then Shameless, it was a whole new world, yeah.
Amazing. And Emma?
I was only 10 when I started Shameless, so I'd say that was definitely my first big project. But I grew up doing student films at NYU, Tisch, and kind of just in the industry.
So you're a hardened veteran at this point.
Oh yeah.
10 years old.
10 years old.
Almost been 20 years actually though, since I've, maybe 15.
Yeah.
Wow.
I've been in the industry.
Amazing. Ethan?
No, I would say, Emma and I were the same age when we both started this gig, and I think that we both didn't really realize kind of what it would come to until we started actually seeing the energy with our family that we're surrounded by, and also the crew, and just this blessing of an opportunity.
That's a very adult answer. Thank you so much. I feel like you have crazier stories to tell, but that was a good first thing.
It's a good summary.
And your castmate next to you, which I can't believe this young person's up here and is so good in the show at such a young age. Tell us a little bit about how you came to be in front of us today.
Christian had quite the resume before he even got to us. It's so annoying.
Hold the mic up too so we can hear you.
It was just like little TV shows and stuff, like a show called Married and a show called Teachers. And it was just my experience of being in front of the camera that I got used to it. And when I came here, I was like, okay, I know what I'm doing now, so I feel good.
How old are you now?
I'm 10.
Oh, God. It's just too much. We're so happy you're here. And Shanola, tell us a little bit about your entree into acting.
Well, Shameless is definitely my big break. Little fun story is I was still bartending even when we were shooting the pilot, and he would tease me because I would say I'm going to work, and he'd say, "You're at work?" And I said, "No, I gotta go shake some martinis. This show may not get picked up, and if it does, I may not get picked up with it." So this was definitely, I did some guest spots, and as I was auditioning for Shameless, I was on a show called Miami Medical, which happened to be shooting on the same lot, which is how I was able to even audition for Shameless. Had it been shooting any place else in LA because of traffic, I wouldn't have been able to make it to the audition. But I jumped in the golf cart with the PA, and I would change out of my nurse scrubs and audition for Veronica, and then ran back and was a nurse, so it was good.
That's amazing. And then LA, that's a real thing. Like,
No,
if
it's
across
real,
town, you
yeah.
may not make that audition.
Yeah.
Amazing. We're so glad it worked out. And how about you, gentlemen?
Reba.
Who knew we had a lot of Reba fans in the house? It's amazing. And how did you get that role initially?
I auditioned.
Are you going to be one of those guys who's just giving the one-word answer?
Those guys? Excuse me?
Yeah, he's one of those
He
guys.
is one of those guys.
No, it was, they were looking for somebody just smart enough to formulate a sentence and that could walk and was tall. And I walked in and said, "Hey, everybody!" And then they hired me. And that's how it really was, yeah. But that
True
was a lot of
Hollywood
fun.
story.
Yeah. It was really cool. So this is my second show that's gone over 100 episodes.
Woo! Congratulations. Huge accomplishment. And Richard, tell us a little bit about entering into this chaos as an outsider. I'm sure it was a fun first day when you got to set.
Actually, yeah. I met Shanola on my very first day, and Emmy I was working with as well. And they just couldn't believe that I didn't have to take all my clothes off on the first day. It seems to be kind of like
You
initiation.
didn't have to be hazed, essentially.
Initiation into the Shameless universe. But no, it's been a blast. This is, the biggest thing that I've certainly done, especially over here in America, which is.
Were you aware of the UK version? Were you a fan of that?
Yeah, when I was in drama school, the UK version was on, and we were all kind of in awe of it because we were like, oh, this is, rough and tumble. This is the kind of acting that we want to do, real messy, because we were doing, very classical training and classical theatre and all that kind of stuff. We were like, oh, I just want to say fucking shit. So yeah, very, very aware.
Every actor's dream.
Yeah. So when this came up, was a dream. Like, I just couldn't believe it, really. So yeah, it's been a blast.
And obviously, I'd be remiss if we didn't acknowledge Emmy, who is not here tonight. At the Toronto Film Festival with her husband, Sam Esmail, who created the show in which Jeremy stars, Homecoming. And then also Ian, Cameron Monaghan is not here as well, but let's also give him a round. He's shooting in New York tonight. It's the curse of having amazingly talented people. They are always working when they have the opportunity. So I would love to know what each of you considers the most special element of making the show that you feel is distinct from anything else you've worked on. Whether it's the way the show is written, the way you shoot it, the storylines, the way you work together as a cast. Does something stick out to you as being utterly unique in its shamelessness?
I will say that John Wells is a great captain. He created the show and he writes it as a head writer. But Bill Macy is a national treasure.
National
Great.
He is, and you saw his work in that show, and it's so good. And I'm not blowing smoke up his ass because I can't stand him. But he's such a joy to go to work with, and he's such a consummate professional, and he loves his craft, and he's so excited. And that I can put up with all the other bullshit in between because he's such a good actor. That was a joke.
They love you, John. But it's true, and I've been on the set a number of times, and not all sets are fun to visit. Not all sets have the kind of energy that your set has, and you can feel it. It's
it trickles
palpable.
down.
It really does.
Yeah.
And that starts with John, of course, and obviously you met John years ago working on ER.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me a little bit about your relationship with John over the years.
I was doing another pilot that didn't go, a Jane Curtin pilot, and he said, you want to come down to LA and play Dr. Morgenstern on ER? It's a recurring. And I did about 4 or 5 years of that. And then I'd see John hither and thither. And he sent me the script. I had decided I wanted to do television. My wife, Felicity Huffman, had done Housewives, and she loved doing it.
Yes, well, let's give a woo for Felicity. Yeah. So you saw the experience, and again, another amazing actor who'd been trained in the theater, thriving in television at a time when, especially, that show was so groundbreaking, especially for female characters. And you thought, oh, I can slum it in TV, maybe, and explore that option.
The business changed just about as we were starting. My bread and butter had been independent films, and that line between film and television still existed. It's completely switched now. Television is where it's happening, and I think the best stuff being done anywhere is being done on television. And I was trepidatious about it, but I put the word out that I wanted to do TV, and I got a couple of things that didn't float my boat. And then John called, I read it the day I got it, called him up an hour later and said, I'll do anything to be in this.
We're so glad you begged. Thank you very much. Yeah, seriously. It'd be very different. It's hard to imagine anyone else. I mean, really, it's...
They could imagine a bunch of people.
Who did they imagine? Who did they imagine? Let's spill. It's been a long time. You can tell us.
I won't say I'm the only guy that was left, but...
You're the only guy that got it.
Okay, I ran into Woody Harrelson, and they said, what are you doing? And I said, I'm going to do this thing, Shameless. And he went, oh. And you could just... So you turned it down, huh? And he said, yeah, I saw the British version. I couldn't do better than that. And we both went, yeah. And there's a pause, and I said, I could. That's why you got the role.
I love that. Also, Woody lives in Hawaii and hangs out and smokes pot with Willie Nelson all day. He wouldn't have worked with his schedule. So I would love to know when you all first met each other, and obviously you met each other at different times and different places. What was the first impression you had of a castmate that you now reflect on and think, oh, when I first met you, I thought this, but now that I know you, I actually think that was totally off. Is there something you think about?
That's a really good question, but everyone's been pretty consistent. When I met Jeremy Allen White, he came in with a black eye, and I said, you will be my little brother, and I will take care of you for life.
And he didn't know where he had gotten it.
He didn't remember where I got it. The kids obviously have grown up, but I met them, and I said, I will take care of you for life and you will be my babies and they are still my children. And I mean, he's still the asshole that he's always been. So, actually, he's the best partner in the whole world. I guess the most surprising probably is how close that I became with Steve Howey, because he's my best friend and soulmate in so many ways in life. And so that has evolved into a really nice relationship. And he will pretend that he remembers meeting me on Reba. He does not. I was a guest star. He was a regular. He could care less about me. Even though he likes to say we met on Reba, he doesn't remember that. Stop.
It was October 29th, 2002. It was a little cloudy.
I don't feel like my opinions on the cast members have changed because I feel like I've grown up with this as my normal, you know, with these people and with this kind of energy. And, you know, if anything, it's just continued to grow and get more connected with everyone.
And Christian, how do you feel with the rapport that you've built with your castmates over the last, I guess, probably a couple years at this point?
Mine was with Bill's character, because the first time we were all in the Gallagher house, I looked at him and some didn't look right. So every time we were done filming, I would move my chair past his, so I didn't have to sit by him. And then he would play his ukulele, and I was like, he might be a nice guy. So I moved it back, and then he talked, and I was like, okay. I was like, this might be a good friendship.
Oh my God, it is too much. No, you passed muster with your much younger co-star.
Thank you.
He's got a good mama.
Yes, I met her earlier. She's an amazing mom, making sure he stays normal, well, relatively normal. So the show tackles a lot of, kind of innumerable themes at this point, one of which is parenting, taking care of children. And Steve and Shanola, you both have children of your own. And Shanola, you've had 2 children during the run of the show, if I'm not mistaken, which is an amazing feat, by the way, to keep working and to be giving so much to this role. It's incredible. What have you learned about what it means to be a parent from your characters? And hopefully you're leaving most of it at work.
I learned a damn thing from Veronica and Kevin. They just fetched with their kids. I do not treat my children like dogs. Nothing. No, nothing.
You learn what not to do.
I haven't learned nothing from Kevin and Veronica, other than that they love their kids and they do the best they can, honey, and that's all you can do when you're
That's what's so universal about it, really, truly.
Yeah.
And they do care, despite their methods maybe a little, different.
How do I say this with young ears? But there's a few scenes in certain seasons where I would have some actress straddle me and Shanola sit on my face. At these moments, you're thinking, dreams do come true. And then we went from that to having kids, and it was like, what is this bullshit? Because I had kids, right? And the thing is, though, is that this acronym NMK, not my kids, because I didn't want to deal with the kids, you know what I mean? So it was hard. It was harder for me because I have a hard time just dealing with my own kids, and then I'd have to act with these actors. Because I'm just saying, we had all these scenes that were like amazing.
Stop talking.
We were creating magic, you know, and we were naked doing it.
Oh, would you stop talking?
I'm so glad you're here tonight, Steve. Really. Richard, I would like to know, having come from not an American point of view to this program, what is it about the show that you think is universal in its themes? Because I do think it speaks to people from all walks of life, and especially in America, we're having, let's say, a lot of cultural discourse at the moment. It's the best way I can think of to describe it. But what do you think resonates about the Gallaghers that lent itself to such a great adaptation? Because not every show can translate as easily.
I think it just shows that we're all pretty nuts no matter where you're from. The original show that I knew, I knew that world in many ways much better. You know, a council estate in Manchester, would be closer to what I would know. But I think it translates very well because the dynamics are the same. This is really, for me anyway, this is a show about family as well, and the dynamic of the family is really what keeps us entertained, but also keeps us, laughing and crying and everything, and it really encapsulates anything, and that's universal all over the world. It doesn't really matter where it is. This is a family who, do everything for each other and go to the ends of the earth for each other and fight together and laugh together and everything. That's everywhere.
Agreed. I love that. And Jeremy, have there been moments during the run of the show where you thought to yourself, I can't believe this is my job? And it can be either in a good way or an absurd way, like, I can't believe I'm doing this on camera.
Yeah, every season I think I end up doing something. I mean, yeah, I guess it was 2 seasons ago, there were these poor girl, Lip was living in a sorority house and
yes, we
getting laid
remember.
a lot. And there were these girls who were like extras, I guess, but being paid a bit more just to kind of like be naked, and I would try to make them kind of feel comfortable, and they didn't really want to hear about it, and I tried to like get to know them a little bit, but they didn't even want to let's do the thing, and like then we can leave and you can go home, and that was very uncomfortable. And I remember doing those scenes and asking them to maybe dial it down a little bit, but
You were just trying to be a good host.
Yeah.
How about the rest of you? Emma, do you have any moments like that where you think maybe a few seasons ago where you're like, I can't believe I shot that scene?
Honestly, there's a lot of those scenes. I don't think I could pick a specific one at all, but honestly, every day when I go to set in the morning, as cliche as that sounds, I'm kind of just like, what?
Can you tell me a little bit about the scene where Frank cut off your toes? Because I've had nightmares about it. It looks so real. Was that a prosthetic, a fake leg?
Yes, it was a prosthetic.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would assume it's a fake leg, obviously,
Yeah.
because you're walking very well tonight.
Yeah, we just got a replica of my leg, and they chopped it off, and that scene was so fun.
It would look so real too.
Oh my god.
And you passed out. You couldn't take the. Hopefully that wasn't real.
It was fun.
And Ethan, do you have a special moment that you think of when you kind of felt like, okay, I'm becoming an actor unto myself. I'm growing up. I'm kind of an adult actor now. Was there like a crossover, either storyline where you felt like they were giving Carl some more mature material?
I think a lot of it kind of hit when I started finishing out of high school, because I went to public high school back in Chicago, and coming out here and having my family be back in the Midwest and starting to kind of actually pursuing a different job career than I thought I would ever be doing, especially while going to high school. In school, I didn't think I'd ever be here.
So did you think this was sort of like a lark in your childhood and you would move on to something else?
This was a job for me when I was growing up, and I was going back home.
He's done growing up, you guys.
Yeah. No, I'm this is as tall as I'm getting as Jeremy every single day.
Yeah, you're not getting any bigger, man.
But like in my younger years, it was I was more focused on going home and hanging out with friends, sneaking out and
we almost
getting in trouble.
lost Ethan a couple times. I remember he was like, he just wasn't
doing a
sure
team
if-
thing?
Yeah. He wanted to be in school. He wanted to
I wanted
hang out
to
with
get
his
in
friends
trouble,
and
and,
stuff.
my parents mad at me.
That's very relatable. And obviously the show, as evidenced by this room, has amazing fans. And I'm wondering, yes, give yourself a round of applause, because you have kept the show alive and relevant, truly. When you exist in the world outside of work and people acknowledge you, like, oh, I recognize you from Shameless, what did they say to you? Is there like a go-to, quip? And I can't imagine, Bill, what you get, because Frank has just a treasure trove of memories. But is there something that people say to you most often that resonates either in a meaningful way or just something that kind of comes off as like, oh yeah, you're a Shameless fan because you're really weird?
It's a stare.
What's that?
It's a stare.
It's a stare?
They'll have their phone. They'll look at a picture on Instagram. Then they'll stare at you. Then they'll go back. Then they'll stare at you again. And then once you say something, because it looks so suspicious, because they're like these old adults staring at a It's just so weird. So I'm like, yes, I'm that kid from Shameless. Gallagher. Wallace. Stop staring.
A lot of people will come out and hug me because they feel like they've seen Debbie grow up.
Yeah, but get your phone ready. You know what I mean? Like, if we're walking and they say you want to take a picture, yeah, okay. Where's your phone? You know what I mean? Like, have it ready. What, am I going to wait for you? You know what I mean? Like, I got to go somewhere, right? But just to go back to the other question about the US.
You guys get that? That's your lesson for tonight. Have your phone ready to go.
Ready. you know? So I think you talked about the show dynamics, and I really do think, because you said, you know, unwillingly, our patriarch, Bill Macy, but, you know, there is these dynamics in the cast, and the kids, they're adults now, but
Still our
when
kids.
they are still kids, but see, and that's what I was just about to bring up. We have a queen mother in Shanola, and so we've always had someone to rein us back, and literally, she would hold us back from stupid things, and so there was a love, and it was created, and I think that's what you see. So people have, either they like the show because it reminds them of their own family or friends, or they like the show because they're like, hey, my life's not so fucked up. I don't know, however people like interpret it is their own thing, but what you do see is a natural, real love for each other. And then when Emma and Ethan came in, they were 9 when we met them, you know, and they were so precocious. And now, you know, Christian, who's just the same precocious as you can tell. And, you know, it's our job to not mess them up, you know, to like, as they're there. And it goes back to Bill, who, you know, is not an a-hole. I'm trying to be good. And so that trickles down, because no one else, you know, is allowed to, except me, because I'm the biggest. So I can be the asshole. But yeah, there's that synergy that's created with the natural love. I can't stand any of them. I don't like any of you.
I think the biggest question we get, are y'all really that close? People ask that all the time. And now I've started to answer, because we can. We're 100 episodes deep in 9 seasons. I'm like, wouldn't the story have come out by now if we weren't? It's just, when you see us on Instagram and we're at barbecues together, and, you know, we're over at each other's houses and celebrating these life things that are happening, weddings and babies and all. That's really a part.
Baby shower.
I'm planning his
Sunday.
baby shower for Sunday.
Yeah.
So, like, we really are. There's no drama. Even the ones that you see on the panel, the ones that are not here because they're working, we root for each other in real life. It's not just a job for us, and that's the difference I think that you'll find in this cast. Like, we love each other on the set, but we love each other, and we are each other's biggest cheerleaders off the set, and want everyone to reach their highest level of prosperity and joy and happiness.
So sweet. It's so rare. Very, very rare.
Although I remember doing this scene with Ethan. They were gonna cut my hair off on camera, right? I was a bit nervous about that. And I said, let's run the lines. And he didn't know the lines. And I said, let's run the lines again. And he was fumbling on the lines. And, you know, I try to be a mentor. So I grabbed him by the collar and I said, you fuckhead, they're about to shave my head. You gotta learn these goddamn lines. I will kick your ass so hard, you'll have to take off your shirt to take a piss. And then I looked at my hand and his collar and I saw the microphone. And I looked around and there was your dad with headphones.
Now I know my lines.
I try to mentor the young.
Yes. You're an amazing mentor. And Bill, what would you say you've learned about yourself as an actor making the show? Because, I mean, you're obviously great at playing Frank, but it is very different from most of your other work. I mean, it's really over the top. It's very comedic. What have you learned about what you can do as a performer that maybe has surprised you?
Well, it's been such a gift. I think we all share this. It's you read the Outliers, the 10,000 hours. We are the luckiest people in the world. We got our 10,000 hours. We get to act a lot every day for the last 9 years, and you get better, and or you get a lot worse. But we all got a lot better, and
how much can you do of your own takes on the show? Does John let you kind of improv a little bit, or is it really on the page 100%?
not a lot of improv. Not allowed.
Not that you need to, because the scripts are great, but sometimes there's okay, do one for yourself at the end.
We shoot rehearsal a lot of the times. So like, we go in, we do the lines, and then we go right into rehearsal, and that rehearsal will be blocking, and then we'll shoot it again, and then sometimes we'll move on. So we'll get 2 or 3 takes. I mean, Bill and I think like more takes. These guys are such pros, they can just bang out 2 or 3 and it's great. Jeremy with his obnoxious talent, you know, it's like, it's gross, because that throwback swagger, it's just in his eyes.
Steve, is this a therapy session for you tonight? I feel like you're airing some grievances that maybe we should explore a little bit further.
I'm glad you asked that, because there was one time my mom told me.
So before we lose too much time, and I want to allow enough time for audience questions, and by the way, before you ask your questions, just look around for someone rushing around with a mic, because we want to be able to hear you. Your Macy co-star Emmy Rossum announced that she's leaving at the end of this season, which makes us all sad, but we understand that she's making...
Sorry, who?
She's about yay tall, long, curly brown hair. She's kept shit together for the last 9 seasons. So as you start to think about, you know, the trajectory that you hope for your own character, and I'm sure she'll get a beautiful send-off in the Shameless way that is obviously gonna happen. What do you hope for your character whenever the show decides to end? Only the powers that be know at this point. But what would you like to see your character be doing when this show comes to a close?
I'll go. I think the biggest thing is that Kevin and Veronica are endgame. I think that they've gotten to really grow on this show, and we've gotten to see them just kind of be the comedic relief to wanting to have children, to having children, to being in a throuple, and to all of these things that they've had. And I want to see them. The thing about being in this world, there's but so far you'll probably be able to go success-wise, but as long as they're together, I'm all good. Like, I just want them together with their girls and the Gallaghers, and it end the way we started, which is a bonfire in Chicago, and it's freezing freaking cold, and it was really, really cold. That's not fake. And we're around it, and we are laughing, and we are partying. Like, I want the send-off to be us all together.
I for real thought you were going to say how the way it started with that ball gag in my mouth. You said bonfire, but that was like the pilot episode. Do you guys remember that?
Oh, yes.
Take us back to the bonfire.
Or
How about
ball
the rest
gag.
of you? What would you like to see for your characters?
I don't know. I selfishly, I think I want Lip to stay in Chicago, stay on the South Side. I think there were a couple times there where he might have kind of left at least the South Side, but not Chicago. But I like him there, and I think he likes himself there. And I want him to help. You know, I want him to help kids that be like him. I want him to help, you know, other addicts.
He's just jealous. He's just jealous. I appreciated your comments, Jeremy.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else have any hopes? What do we think is going to be the end game for Frank, speaking of end games?
Not death.
Avoided death so many times.
I don't even think we have an end.
John Wells said it just keeps going. The camera perhaps moves to a different family, but the Gallaghers keep on going. It doesn't feel like a big boffo ending to me, somehow.
Subtlety is sort of the key. And then before we do questions, I'd love to talk a little bit about the upcoming season, which is definitely more political in its themes and messaging. What do you think is the most, and it's funny, having talked to John so many times over the years, he says that he's wanted to avoid the idea that this is a political show. And to me, it's always read as a political show, and now even more so. And it doesn't matter where you fall on the spectrum, you can find kind of your what's important to you in the storylines, whether it's access to the morning after pill or whatever each character is going through. What do you think feels most relevant about the episodes we're going to see in the coming weeks to our political climate?
We went after the dysfunction a little bit. There's a plot where Frank, in order to make money, really, finds a guy that used to be in the Congress from Illinois named Mo White and runs him. Frank becomes his campaign chairman and actually gets him on the ballot, and then the guy wins. There's some drawbacks to the guy. He was a pederast. So he got thrown out of Congress for that. But
So the
he's
actual mechanism of politicking on a local level, you sort
We've
of
gone
alluded
after
to.
it,
Okay.
and I'm really proud of us for doing it too, because I personally feel, you know, especially in the universities, this political correctness, man. On Shameless, we will make fun of anything, anytime. Nobody.
Opportunity offended.
I mean, we've got Me Too in this episode, in this year, and a little bit of 50-50 by 2020. We've got, well...
We name names. John Wells wrote a script that I'm particularly proud of, where he names names and their alleged crimes. So that'll... Allegedly, yeah. So the names that we're all thinking of.
We're getting specific.
Very specific. Yeah. It was like, shit, we're doing this? Okay. All right.
I remember the read through, everybody going, ooh, ooh.
I was just kind of like smiling. Yeah, it was like, I'm gonna do it.
Well, and John is like the most congenial, nice guy, but I like it when he kind of gets a little bit dark. It's fun.
Yeah.
Because obviously he's very willing to do so. Well, before we run out of time, I want to make sure we have plenty of opportunity for people to ask questions. So if you would raise your hand and then wait for, there's a lady here in the front row in an orange shirt. She was the first to raise her hand. And please have a question, not a testimonial, and nor a script that you would like Bill to direct or to read or people you want to cast. We love that. Best of luck with all that. Not really the time for it. Please go ahead.
I was just curious what your most Gallagher moment is, because I love those. Every time I think you get to one point, you can't go any worse, and then you do. But also what you think your character's most redeeming moment may have been over the last season, couple of seasons.
Most Gallagher or redeeming moment?
Well, I remember one of my favorite moments was in the first season. It was Lip and Frank. It was after Frank had slept with Karen. And I think like when the Gallaghers clicked for me and when the show kind of clicked for me was it was this almost like Romeo and Juliet scene where Frank was down on the street and I was up in my bedroom window and he was apologizing and Lip's just staring down at him, and Frank's looking up and apologizing, and a stream of piss starts coming down on his head, and Frank moves out of the way, and then I continue pissing, and Frank moves back into the stream and sits there and nods his head, and then Lip finishes, looks at him, kind of nods his head, noticing that he stepped back in, and there was this forgiveness there, and that was a moment for me when I went, oh, I think I get the Gallaghers, I get the show.
Perfect sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
You got the other.
Yeah.
Love that.
Frank was anointed at that point. Yeah.
You haven't really until you've got all these, the property guys come up, the special effects, and they want to show you the pee. They always tell you, this is food safe. You could drink this. I think we think that's important.
Does anyone else have? Oh, sorry to interrupt. It was warm. That's good.
It's cold out, so it's steamed.
Does anyone else have a purely Gallagher moment they think of?
I think it was like around for my 10, 11-year-old self for me to be able to comprehend the Gallaghers. At least it was while we were filming in Chicago, and we did this scene where this drive-by, something started happening, and out the window comes flying, a bag of cocaine, and then also a Mac 11. And so Carl looks down, weighs the two, throws the bag of cocaine, obviously, picks up the Mac 11 and starts holding, trying to aim it around. Next shot goes to, he's looking at an eagle. And then all of a sudden shoots the eagle. And I think the redeeming part for it is he brought it back for his family to eat.
Very thoughtful.
It's Thanksgiving, and you're going, we don't have a turkey, and then in come Carl, and then somebody says, wait, it's tagged. And they realize he shot a bald eagle.
That was the beginning of Carl's jingoism and love for America, too, that we have seen him grow into over the last few seasons.
Of course.
Who else would have a question I have to ask? How about this lady in the black t-shirt and glasses?
Hello.
You have an amazing t-shirt on, by the way.
Thank you.
Galovich.
It says Galovich.
My question isn't about that, by the way. As you guys probably know, there's a lot of there's a Shameless fandom, especially on Twitter. Have you ever gone through a fan account, and if so, what's the craziest thing you've ever seen on there?
That's a great question. Craziest thing you've seen in a Shameless fan account on Twitter?
I don't read that stuff. My daughter, though, one time said, "Do you get good reviews?" And I said, "I'm not sure." And she says, "You don't."
That's not. Well, just so you know that we don't have any say in the hiring, the firing, the negotiation, the renegotiation. So whatever an actor decides to do, we don't have any say. So when you have this inundation of Twitter things why did you allow this to happen? I just found out about it like you did.
When is Mickey coming back? That's the question I got for the last 24 hours.
And it was and Noel's a good friend of mine, and he's with all of us. And he was just like, dude, I don't even know. But the thing is, though, is that Noel and the writers created an iconic character. Went against all the stereotypes of what that person was about. And it was too bad that it didn't continue on. But that was Noel and the producers and the network and the studio's decision, And so we got a lot of flack for it, but it's all good, and it's all good. You know what I mean?
Well, it also speaks to how powerful he was, and sometimes it's
Exactly.
more powerful for him to go, because then you realize, whoa, that was very indelible.
Listen, he is a phenomenal actor, one of the best in Hollywood.
He's amazing.
And we love him.
And a great human being.
Yeah, and a really good dude. And cute. But that was a lot to deal with, because then it was just all right, I don't even know. So if you said anything or texted or tweeted anything, you would just be like, oh, you're a hater and you hate it, and it's okay.
Fine line.
Yeah, but
You won't go on and read all that stuff?
Yeah, and cry. But yeah, we felt the same way, you know what I mean? And so we felt the same way when that left.
Well, there's still time for him to make an appearance. You never know.
Uh-oh.
You never. I'm not
What?
saying that's going to happen. I'm saying there's still time.
Oh.
How about someone over here? Anyone on this side of the room? Okay, how about this gentleman in the middle? That was a great stretch. Very good posture.
This is for the cast. I want to say, because Shameless is also filled with drama. I want to ask which one is one of your iconic saddest scenes if you guys done. Yeah.
Great question.
Monica on the floor.
Oh,
That was hard. We were all there that day. That was hard.
The little Liam on the floor that
Little
day.
Liam on the floor.
I don't think I was there.
Oh, with the OD,
Yeah, you called 911, didn't you call? I don't remember. I don't know. That was super sad.
it's
That
funny.
was very sad.
Because we thought Monica, like Frank, would be around forever. She would just sort of be this presence, kind of coming in and out of the kid's life. And that was, even though she was clearly a terrible mother, it's amazing how much empathy we had for her, because we knew that she didn't mean to be hurting them, and it was so sad.
John and John Levy, the casting director, have done an amazing job, because you did hit on that, and Bill talks about this a lot, is that having some humanity, a redeemable quality. Chloe Webb did that. Here's this woman who abandoned her family, who was a Gallagher, who was, Frank's nemesis, but she was perfect. Really just perfect, and that was, a testament to her, but it's all a testament to the casting. They're just so brilliant in who they find. Yeah.
Gentleman in the first row, American flag shirt for Carl. He wore that for Carl.
This question's for Jeremy. Lip has definitely had his share of ladies, and I'm just wondering if you, as Jeremy, have one of them that you wish actually would have worked out for him, or maybe none at all.
I don't know if I wish it would have worked out, but I think that Lip's first love was certainly Karen, and I think that's when he was most kind of heartbroken. So I think I always kind of missed that relationship because that was the love I believed the most. You know, was that first one with Lip and Karen. I think. Yeah.
Well, they came from the same world. They had a shorthand with each other that felt like they weren't judging each other.
Yeah.
Let's go on this side.
I have pictures of that birth. The fake, the prosthetic. I was on my computer and I saw these horrible pictures. Because it was amazing. They had this prosthetic.
Okay,
It
all
was all fake.
Beautiful girl with the...
Yes, go ahead.
Beautiful. Thank you. I also have a question for Jeremy.
Yes.
First of
here we
all,
go.
I was gonna say, first of all, hi.
He's having a baby, ma'am.
That's congratulations. That's really awesome. I'm actually genuinely interested to know what you think your similarities with you as a person, what you have in common with Lip.
That's a good question. I think it's easier to say what I don't have in common with Lip, which is certainly his intelligence. That's some real work that I put in on the show. But I think there's a loyalty Lip has that I think I can say that I have as well. I mean, a love for these guys, a love for my family, close friends. There's a fierceness there that I think Lip and I share, you know.
I remember last year, Jeremy, you told me at the Paley event that we did that Lip reminded you of when you were a teenager. You had said that he was a guy
I looked up to that didn't exist.
It didn't exist. In high school, it was sort of like you wish you had had a Lip figure in your life to sort of turn to for that support that it sounds like.
Exactly, and I got this opportunity to I was like, I think this guy can work for this. And he did. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you. Anyone else? How about on this side? Both women have long hair and glasses, so let's go for the one who's closer to the stage.
How does Carl feel about the relationship with him and Cassidy?
What happened there?
What happened there? I mean,
It seems so promising.
She might have disappeared, so that was kind of how the relationship
happened.
I don't know. The ring might have disappeared, but I mean, honestly, working with it was amazing. It was a very funny experience to kind of also see, you know, maybe that is kind of like how teenage love goes. A little. I mean, I've seen a little bit, but you know, it was a very interesting dynamic, and I think it was a hilarious concept with it.
She was great. She's so great.
She's very
brought a crazy aspect to it. It was awesome.
And then how about the woman who was waiting behind her, also with long hair and glasses?
Hello. My question is for Bill. Last season we saw a scene where you were in the porta potty. I just want to know how you felt when you were doing that scene, and if you want to be honest about that. Be honest, yeah.
I felt great.
That was his idea.
It was his idea, like he loved it.
That was his idea.
Yeah, I thought they said he hides in the porta potty. I pitched to John, let's go the whole way. They bought a porta potty. They had to cut out a hole and then build this whole thing so we could get my feet in there. It wasn't quite enough room. What was interesting, that was food safe, by the way. What was interesting is that I was in the water and they made it sort of warm for me, and it was no big deal, but the crew was freaking out. Their eyes betrayed them. They swore to God that it smelled bad. It didn't smell bad. Those were just candy bars floating around. They were food safe also.
That was the day I was on set, and Bill was just like reclined, just Smurf blue, just hanging. All the prop guys are like taking photos with him. You've never looked more comfortable in your own skin as you did that day. And I think we'll have time for one more question. How about this gentleman in the front, also with glasses? Thanks for wearing glasses. It helps me identify you.
Thank you. It helps me see you guys too. So I guess this question is up for grabs for anyone. What was one moment or situation or even something that your character did that you didn't quite
like you felt, I don't want to see them in this situation, or I don't even want them to do this, or what was something you just felt wasn't really a great move for your character?
Well, I had the most publicized one. I didn't mean to. Remember Butterface?
Please explain for those who have forgotten about Butterface.
Frank was scamming a woman out of her Social Security benefits or something like that. And everyone in the bar said, yeah, she's got a nice body, but her face. Well, I didn't want to do it, but she died while we were having sex. And they wanted me to get up and notice that she was dead and then continue. I didn't want to do that. I kept saying, who else are funny necrophiliacs? I'm trying to think of Jeffrey Dahmer. No, he wasn't funny.
That's a tough point of reference.
I think it was the second season too, and I thought, give me a chance. No, let me get a couple of seasons under my belt before I fuck a corpse. No, I didn't.
Well, on that note, which is the most perfect Galarian road, or whatever the word is for describe something very Gallagher. Thank you all for coming. Be sure to watch live again tonight because Showtime likes it when you watch live. Tell all your friends to watch the new season, and we really appreciate you coming and supporting the show.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.